Hello students, I am your course instructor Dr. Chaya BM. In this video, we will be looking into the concept of Ward and Mellor methodology. So Ward and Mellor basically shows the outline of abstract modeling approach. Okay, so here we can see there is an abstract model where it is also called as an essential model, where the starting point is to build from analysis of the requirements a software model representing the requirements in terms of abstract entities, which is then divided into two types of models, that is environmental model and behavioral model. Environmental model basically describes the relationship of the system being modeled with its environment. Behavioral model describes the internal structure of the real-time system. And in this environmental system only, we need to categorize into two sections. Like, what is context diagram? It gives you the information about the boundary or separating the system from its environment, like how the context is being made, what are the various informations present in the real-time system. So all the details we will get in context diagram. Event list will give you the description of external events. For any given real-time system, what are the various external events and what is that action need to be taken. So that description is being given in the event list. So basically, in the abstract model, it is divided into two categories: environmental model and behavioral model. Environmental model will just give the description of the real-time environment based on the devices. So first way is to understand the real-time system by writing the context diagram and the event list where the events associated with it. Similarly, we have a behavioral model which gives the behavioral response to the environment, or I can tell in a way where it describes the internal structure of the system. So there are two categories here: transformation schema and behavioral schema. So when they say transformation scheme, it gives the descriptions of the actions taken by the system in response to the events. What actions that are taken by the system in response to the events. Basically, we have two levels of transformation schema, that is level 1 and level 2. We will be understanding that in detail. And we have a behavioral model where it gives a description of the information of the system that must have in order to respond. So we can understand the various relationship between the models and descriptions. So basically we can see that there is two types of models. One is implementation model and an essential model. So all these types are categories of this models and the diagrams. As mentioned, we have two types of models. The first is essential model and an implementation model. Essential model represents what the system is required to do. Essential model will represent what the system is required to do. So which is again categorized into environmental model and behavioral model. As mentioned in the previous slide, environmental model to describe the behavior of the system. So we usually write context diagram for the given system and entity relation list, or nothing but an event list. So to describe or to get the internal details of the system, we need to write three types of diagrams, that is data flow diagram, state transition diagram and entity relation diagram. So this is about the essential model. Basically, as mentioned, the essential model represents what the system is required to do, but the implementation model is the one which shows how the system will do what has to be done. So how the system will process with what has to be done. So this provides the design from which the implementers to the physical system can work. Implementers of the physical system that can be worked. So current use of the method results in documentation that provides traceability from the physical system to abstract specification model. Here also we have three types of models, that is process environmental model, software environmental model, code organizational model. So we need to write DFDs for all this, and state diagrams, transition diagrams and program structure chart. However, in this portion of syllabus. We are just trying to understand what is essential model completely. Okay. All this is driven by the data dictionary. So we'll also understand what is data dictionary and how it is useful to store various entities of the different models. Context diagram. So here we are trying to understand the drying oven context diagram. Okay, so figure shows the context diagram written for the drying oven. We can see there are so many entities that are present here, so which is represented in blocks. So the terminator blocks these are nothing but entities that exist in the environment. So temperature transducer, heater units, conveyor motor control, guard lock, operator console, conveyor fault sensor, safety guards, and speed sensors. All these are that are represented in rectangular boxes represent the terminator blocks. Okay, the system that we are going to build is represented in a single bubble. I repeat, the system that we are going to build is represented in a single bubble. So the directed lines, so many, we can see one dotted line and a solid line. So these directed lines will ensure it is a data or control transformations that is passing between system and the environment. So these are the data and control transformations that are passing in the environment. So there are some continuous flows. The solid lines represents continuous flows. Okay, use it to control data or control signals for which there is always a value available to the system. So what does this solid represent? Solid flow represent is nothing but a continuous flow, which means that there is always a value available to the system. Discrete flow. So this is a discrete flow used for data or control again. So which is generated as a separate item or a transaction. That means once the system has received this particular information or being transmitted, so it is no longer available. So it is no longer available. So for the continuous flow, it is always available. The value is always available. Whereas for the discrete flow, this item is no longer available. Okay, so all these flows should be named and each should be entered into the dictionary called as an data dictionary. So what do you mean by data dictionary? Data dictionary will give you the all this is stored in a data dictionary. So what do you mean by this data dictionary? It is the one where all data items are saved. Data items of the systems are saved in this particular dictionary and in a common understanding way. Okay. So just now we understood about the data dictionary. So that the data dictionary will have all the information about the data and control flows. Correct. So we'll also try to understand what are the quantities of or what are the informations that are present in the data dictionary. Following are the informations that are present in the data dictionary. That is, first one, it will have a name. Okay, name in the sense it will have name of data or control item. Second, it will have alias. A name is also called as a primary name. Okay, so alias is always given to the name where it is having other name instead of primary name. Next, the information present in data dictionary is usage. Usage, where and how it is used. It gives the information about where and how it is used. For example, where the input or output to be to a process, or it can be a store or an external entity. How these are to be used and how it is to be used. So such information is present in the data dictionary. It will also have an information on the content description. It will give the description using a standard notation of the content. Also, it will have other information. It will have other information. This other information will give you the information about the data types, preset values, other range of values, and any restrictions we have in order to use any components or blocks. Such information is present in the other information. These are the various informations present in the data dictionary. How to write an event list for any given example like a drying oven. First, we need to see what are the various inputs and outputs that are present in the drying oven, and then we can start writing the event list. So event list basically gives the change in the system and its result in an output. For example, if there is a start event, the action taken is that we need to lock all the guards immediately, like in guard, out guard, and drop guard. So response will be guard lock. The response will be guard lock. Similarly, if an event is in guard, out guard, and drop guard, okay, if the event is in guard, out guard, and drop guard, so what is that immediate action it takes is that it starts heating up the cycle. Okay, and once this is done, response will be to set a maximum heat output. Response will be to set maximum heat output. And suppose there is an event called pause. What happens? So when is the pause? So immediately it stops the conveyor. Okay, stops the conveyor, and the response will be that this signal will be activated. Similarly, in this case, one more signal, that is conveyor start is activated. If all the locks are guard locks are locked, conveyor can start. Wherever there is a pause, it immediately stops the conveyor and it says conveyor stop. Like that, we can have conveyor fault event. So if there is any fault in the conveyor, so immediately the action taken is raising an alarm, and which immediately responds to stop the conveyor belt, and of course it also stops the heater. So this is the how we write an event list for a given example like drying oven. So like this we can write event list for any real-time systems. Building the essential model, that is behavioral model. Basically we understood that the behavioral model is nothing but it make you understand how the system should respond, to events taking place in the environment. So this is a behavioral model. So here in the Watt and Meller method, we are trying to understand the behavioral model in detail. So this has two types of transformation, that is level 1 transformation and level 2 transformation. So while we are understanding the level 1 transformation, we can see two type of bubbles drawn. The bubbles drawn with dotted lines represent control information or control transformations. Okay, control transformations, whereas the bubbles drawn using solid lines, okay, solid lines represents data transformations. With this information we can try to understand what is level 1 transformation and level 2 transformation. So the level 1 transformation is shown in this figure. So we can notice that the bubbles drawn in the solid lines represent data transformation. The bubbles drawn in the dotted lines represent control transformations. Apart from that, we have control area temperature, which is numbered as 2. So this is having a double line around part of a bubble, that indicating there are multiple instances of this transformation. Okay, and So when I say multiple instances, this when you break up this into this multiple instance, when we break up this particular control area temperature multiple instance, we will have smaller units. So that is level 2 transformation. So this enable and disable what we have mentioned here are nothing but prompts that indicating whether a particular transformation is active or not. So apart from that, we have data store and control store. The one, see, we have a solid straight lines, that is area set points. We call it as a data store, and the one with the dotted straight lines, we call it as a control store. So as mentioned, when we break this particular multiple instances, we will have so many set of smaller units. We call it as in level 2 transformation. Let's look into level 2 transformation. What happens when we expand this control area temperature to? So a level 2 transformation is shown in this figure. So basically we have just broken down the control area temperature that we saw in the level 1 now, and here we have a new name called as a trigger. Okay, this is a prompt again which is used to indicate that transformation is run once each time the trigger becomes true. Okay, and it runs in response to either a periodic signal or an event. The transformations that are present in the level 2 transformation or level 2 are numbered with full stop and in front of a number which indicates that identification. So each will have an identification. So when to just segregate whether it is level 1 or level 2, this numbering is made after a dot. Like it is dot 2, dot 1, dot 3 and dot 4. Whereas in level 1 it was not like that. It is just 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we have a read temperature transducer, which is a continuous data flow, and the output is a discrete data flow, and this is a consequence of temperature being triggered. Similarly, we have like that heat output, which provides the reverse process of converting a discrete data flow into continuous data flow. So these are the various prompt, just an example to understand what is level 2 transformation diagram.